Hey, Thought Tidbits crew, welcome back to the channel. We're diving into something that might just revolutionize your productivity.
Oh, yeah.
The Pomodoro technique.
Okay, the Pomodoro technique, this is a time management method.
Right.
That can really, I think, transform your focus and your efficiency.
For sure.
And you might be surprised to know that its origin lies in a simple kitchen timer.
Really?
Yeah, specifically one shaped like a tomato.
Like a tomato.
A Pomodoro in Italian.
Okay, a tomato-shaped timer. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But how does a kitchen timer become a productivity technique?
Well, the technique was developed by Francesco Scherler back when he was a university student struggling with focus and procrastination.
Okay.
You know, just like many of us, he found himself constantly getting distracted and feeling overwhelmed by his workload. So he grabbed a tomato timer, set it for 25 minutes, and challenged himself to work on a single task without interruption until the timer went off.
Okay.
Thus, the Pomodoro technique was born.
So it's all about working in these focused 25-minute bursts.
Yeah.
But what makes those 25 minutes so special? Why not 30 minutes or an hour?
Well, that's where the connection to our natural brain rhythms comes in.
Okay.
You see, our brains aren't wired for sustained attention for long periods. Research suggests that most people can only maintain truly focused attention for about 20 to 30 minutes before their minds start to wander.
So the 25-minute Pomodoro is actually aligning with how our brains work best.
Precisely.
It's not fighting against our natural tendencies.
Exactly. And equally important are the short breaks that are built into the technique.
Okay.
After each 25-minute Pomodoro, you take a 5-minute break, and after every 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes.
Okay, so it's like work hard, rest, repeat, just like interval training for your brain.
Exactly.
What's the thinking behind the breaks? Are they really that important?
Yeah.
Can I just power through?
Think of it this way. Have you ever noticed how you sometimes get your best ideas when you're not actively working on a problem?
Right, for sure.
Maybe in the shower or going for a walk. That's because your brain is still processing information even when you're not consciously focused on it.
Right.
These breaks allow for that background processing to happen. They prevent burnout and allow your mind to recharge and make new connections.
So instead of feeling guilty about taking breaks, we should be embracing them as crucial parts of the process.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it's not just about passively resting. Those short breaks are a great opportunity to engage in activities that actively recharge your brain and body. Stretch, walk around, get some fresh air, maybe even do a quick meditation.
Right, so we're talking about a strategic pause, not just zoning out on social media.
Right, because that can actually be counterproductive.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to achieve here. The goal is to come back to your work feeling refreshed and refocused, not more drained and distracted.
Right, yeah. All right, I'm starting to get the bigger picture here.
Good.
We're working with our brains, not against them.
Exactly.
Using these focused intervals and strategic breaks to maximize our energy and attention.
Precisely. And the beauty of the Pomodoro technique is that it's adaptable.
Okay.
You can adjust the length of your Pomodoros and breaks to suit your individual needs and preferences.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach?
Exactly.
It's a framework that can be customized and personalized.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes it so effective. It's about finding what works best for you and your unique work style.
So let's say I'm convinced and ready to give this a try. Where do I begin? Walk me through it.
Okay, the first step is to choose a task. And I emphasize the singular here, we're talking about single tasking, no multitasking allowed.
Got it.
If you have a large project, break it down into smaller, more manageable subtasks that you can tackle one Pomodoro at a time.
Okay, so pick one task, break it down if needed.
Yes.
What's next?
Then you want to eliminate distractions.
Okay.
This is where it gets real. Turn off those notifications, close unnecessary tabs, put your phone on silent, basically anything that might tempt you to stray from your task at hand.
So create a little bubble of focus, a dedicated workspace, free from the digital siren song.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to tell people you're unavailable for the next 25 minutes.
Right.
Let them know you're in Pomodoro mode and need to concentrate.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's like setting boundaries, not just for yourself, but for your environment too.
Absolutely. And now the key ingredient. You set your timer for 25 minutes and get to work.
And when that timer goes off, that's when we embrace the strategic break we talked about.
Exactly. 5 minutes of active rest to recharge and then back for another round of focused work.
This is starting to sound a lot more appealing than my usual chaotic work style.
Well, one of the things I find fascinating about the Pomodoro technique is that it not only helps you get things done, but it also increases your awareness of how you spend your time. By tracking your work in these 25-minute chunks, you start to get a much clearer sense of how long tasks actually take,
Okay.
which can be a real eye-opener. You might be surprised by how much you can accomplish in a focused Pomodoro.
So it's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter and gaining a better understanding of our own productivity patterns.
Exactly. And that awareness can be incredibly empowering. It can help you identify time wasters,
Right.
prioritize tasks more effectively, and ultimately feel more in control of your day.
That's a huge benefit, and I can also see how completing those Pomodoros,
Yeah.
seeing that timer go off, could provide a sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
A little dopamine hit that keeps you motivated.
Absolutely. Those small wins can be incredibly motivating,
Right.
especially when you're tackling a large project that might otherwise feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like you're breaking down a marathon into manageable sprints, each Pomodoro a little victory along the way.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm ready to try this Pomodoro thing. But before I grab my tomato timer and dive in, I'm curious to know more about how this technique fits within larger productivity systems.
Okay.
Can it be used alongside other methods?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one we'll explore further when we come back. But I can tell you this, the Pomodoro technique is surprisingly versatile
Okay.
and can be integrated into a variety of workflows.
All right. I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Let's take a deeper dive into that when we return. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Pomodoro technique. We've covered the basics, but now I want to explore how this technique can fit within a broader productivity ecosystem.
Yeah, you're thinking like a true productivity enthusiast because, let's face it, rarely do we have just one task on our plate. We're juggling projects, deadlines, that never-ending to-do list.
Exactly. So how do we make sure we're using those precious Pomodoros on the things that truly matter?
That's where the magic of combining the Pomodoro technique with other productivity systems comes in. Think of it as layering strategies for maximum impact.
I'm all about layering, so what systems work particularly well with the Pomodoro technique?
Two popular ones that come to mind are Getting Things Done, better known as GTD, and the Eisenhower Matrix.
Okay, I've heard of GTD. It's all about capturing and organizing everything right.
Precisely. GTD emphasizes getting all your tasks and projects out of your head and into a trusted system. That way you free up mental space to focus on execution.
And that's where the Pomodoro technique comes in.
Exactly. Think of GTD as providing the roadmap for your productivity journey. You use it to define your projects, break them down into actionable tasks, and prioritize what needs to get done.
So GTD sets the direction, and the Pomodoro technique provides the fuel to propel you forward.
That's a great analogy. You're using those focused 25-minute bursts to power through the tasks that GTD has identified as important.
It's like a dynamic duo of productivity.
And then there's the Eisenhower Matrix. This one's all about ruthless prioritization.
Tell me more.
The Eisenhower Matrix is a simple but powerful tool. It helps you categorize tasks based on two criteria: urgency and importance.
So you're not just looking at what needs to get done, but also considering its impact and deadline.
Right. It forces you to ask yourself, is this task truly important or just urgent? Is it something I should be focusing on right now, or can it wait?
So how do we use the Eisenhower Matrix in conjunction with the Pomodoro technique?
Once you've categorized your tasks using the matrix, you can then apply the Pomodoro technique to those that fall into the urgent and important quadrant.
So we're essentially using the Eisenhower Matrix to guide our Pomodoro sessions, ensuring that we're spending our focused time on the most high-value tasks.
Precisely, it's about strategic alignment, making sure your actions are in sync with your goals.
I like that it's not just about being busy, it's about being productive in a meaningful way.
And the beauty of combining these systems is that it creates a sense of clarity and control. You know what needs to get done, you know why it's important, and you have a structured way to tackle it.
It's like having a productivity GPS guiding you towards your goals.
Exactly. And don't forget, there's flexibility in how you integrate these systems. You can customize them to fit your individual needs and preferences.
Speaking of customization, let's talk about some of the tools and resources that can help people implement the Pomodoro technique. We touched on this earlier, but I'd love to dive a bit deeper.
There's a whole world of Pomodoro tools out there, catering to different styles and preferences. Some people swear by the classic physical timer. That satisfying tick-tock and the visual countdown can be incredibly motivating.
There's something to be said for the tactile experience.
Absolutely. But for those who prefer a digital approach, there are countless apps and browser extensions. Focus Booster, Toggle Track, and Forest are some popular choices.
I've heard good things about Forest. It's the one where you grow virtual trees while you work, right?
Yes. It's a clever way to gamify your focus and visualize your progress. Plus, it discourages you from switching to other apps because if you do, your virtual tree dies.
That's a pretty strong incentive to stay on track. And what about browser extensions?
Tomato Timer and Marinara Timer are excellent options. They offer simple Pomodoro functionality right within your browser. No need to download a separate app.
So it really comes down to personal preference, finding the tools that fit your workflow and keep you motivated.
Exactly. And let's not forget the power of pen and paper. Sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective.
I'm a big fan of pen and paper.
Yeah,
There's something about physically writing things down that helps me process information.
I agree. And a simple notebook can be a great way to track your Pomodoros, jot down notes during breaks, and reflect on your progress.
Okay, so we've got our systems, we've got our tools, but let's be honest, even with the best intentions, we all face challenges when it comes to staying focused and productive.
That's the reality of being human. We're not robots. Distractions happen, motivation fluctuates, and sometimes life just throws us a curveball.
So how do we deal with those inevitable bumps in the road? What are some tips for navigating the common challenges of the Pomodoro technique?
One of the biggest hurdles is dealing with distractions. We live in a world of constant stimulation, so creating a distraction-free environment is crucial.
We talked about this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Turn off notifications, silence your phone, close those tempting tabs, anything that might pull you away from your task.
Exactly. And if you're working in a noisy environment, consider noise-canceling headphones or white noise to create a more focused soundscape.
Another challenge is finding those 25-minute chunks of time in our already packed schedules.
That's where flexibility comes in. Remember, you can adjust the length of your Pomodoros to fit your available time. If 25 minutes feels too long, start with 15 or 20 minutes and gradually work your way up.
It's better to have a few shorter Pomodoros than to feel overwhelmed and give up altogether.
Absolutely. And even a 10-minute Pomodoro can be surprisingly effective if that's all you can manage.
It's about making the most of the time you have, however much that may be.
Another common pitfall is falling into the trap of unproductive breaks.
Oh, I know this one all too well. The temptation to mindlessly scroll through social media or get sucked into the news vortex is strong.
And it can completely derail your Pomodoro flow. Remember, the goal of the break is to recharge, not to further drain your mental energy.
So we're back to those active rest strategies. Stretching, walking, getting some fresh air, maybe even a quick meditation.
Exactly. Think of your breaks as mini investments in your focus and well-being. Treat them with the same intentionality as you do your work periods.
It's a shift in mindset, seeing breaks as essential, not indulgent.
And finally, don't be afraid to experiment and find what works best for you. The Pomodoro technique is a framework, not a rigid set of rules.
This is about personalizing the process, finding the rhythm that works for you.
Exactly. Some people thrive on a strict 25-minute interval, while others prefer to adjust the length depending on the task. It's all about finding what helps you achieve that state of flow and maximize your productivity.
And it's also about listening to your body and mind. If you're feeling burnt out or your focus is waning, don't hesitate to take an extra break or adjust your schedule.
Self-awareness is key. The Pomodoro technique is a tool to help you work smarter, not harder.
It's about finding a sustainable rhythm that allows you to be both productive and energized. Now, that's something I can get behind.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to uncover.
Yep.
Let's shift our focus to real-world examples of how people are using the Pomodoro technique to achieve amazing things in their work and lives. Plus, we'll delve into the fascinating science behind focus and productivity. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Thought Tidbits. We've been on quite the journey with this Pomodoro technique.
We have.
We've explored its origins, its mechanics, its integration with other systems, and even the challenges and how to overcome them.
Right.
But now it's time to see this technique in action.
That's right. We've talked the talk now. Let's walk the walk.
Okay.
Let's see how the Pomodoro technique is being used by real people to achieve real results.
I'm excited to hear about some success stories. Give me some examples.
Well, imagine a student facing a mountain of study material. They're feeling overwhelmed, and the thought of cramming for hours on end is just draining.
I've been there. All-nighters fueled by coffee and anxiety. Not exactly a recipe for success.
Exactly. But instead of giving in to the overwhelm, this student decides to try the Pomodoro technique.
Okay.
They break down their study sessions into those focused 25-minute intervals interspersed with short breaks to recharge.
So they're working smarter, not harder.
Precisely. And what they discover is that they're able to retain information better, avoid burnout, and actually enjoy the process more.
That makes sense. Instead of feeling like they're drowning in information, they're taking it in manageable chunks, giving their brains time to process and absorb it.
And it's not just students who are benefiting writers are using the Pomodoro technique to overcome writer's block and produce their best work.
Really, how so?
Think about it. Writing can be a solitary and often daunting task.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost in your thoughts, second-guess yourself, and procrastinate.
I think a lot of creative people can relate to that.
Absolutely. But with the Pomodoro technique, writers are finding that they can create structure and momentum in their writing process. They're setting Pomodoros for brainstorming, outlining, drafting, and editing, breaking down the writing process into manageable chunks.
It's like having a built-in writing coach.
Exactly. And it's not just for creative pursuits. Entrepreneurs are using the Pomodoro technique to manage their overflowing to-do lists and make tangible progress on their goals.
That makes sense. Entrepreneurs are notorious for wearing many hats and juggling multiple priorities.
Exactly. And they're finding that those focused bursts of work combined with strategic breaks allow them to stay on track and avoid feeling overwhelmed.
It's about working smarter, not harder. A theme that seems to run through all these examples.
It certainly does, and even busy professionals are incorporating the Pomodoro technique into their daily routines.
I could see how it would be helpful for tackling things like emails, meetings, and those never-ending projects that seem to loom over us.
Absolutely. They're finding that it helps them carve out dedicated time for focused work, even amidst the chaos of a busy day.
It's a way to regain control of your schedule and your attention.
And those are just a few examples.
Okay.
The beauty of the Pomodoro technique is that it can be applied to virtually any task or project, big or small.
So it's not just a productivity hack. It's a versatile tool that can be adapted to fit a wide range of situations.
Exactly. And it's backed by science.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, researchers have been studying the cognitive mechanisms behind the Pomodoro technique's success, and what they're finding is fascinating.
I'm all ears.
Well, we've talked about attention spans and how they naturally wax and wane.
Right.
Studies have shown that our ability to focus intensely starts to decline after about 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
The Pomodoro technique's 25-minute intervals are perfectly aligned with this natural rhythm.
So we're not fighting against our biology, we're working with it.
Precisely. And those breaks aren't just for rest and relaxation. Research has shown that taking short breaks throughout the day can actually improve cognitive function, reduce stress, and boost creativity.
It's like hitting the reset button for our brains, allowing them to come back refreshed and ready to tackle the next challenge.
Exactly. And there's another fascinating area of research that sheds light on why the Pomodoro technique is so effective.
Right.
It has to do with something called ultradian rhythms.
Ultradian rhythms.
These are natural cycles of energy and alertness that occur throughout the day. They typically last about 90 to 120 minutes and are characterized by periods of high focus followed by periods of rest and recovery.
So our energy levels naturally ebb and flow throughout the day.
That's right. And the Pomodoro technique's cycles of work and breaks are in tune with these ultradian rhythms.
It's like we're harnessing the power of our own biology to boost our productivity.
Precisely by aligning our work patterns with these natural cycles, we can optimize our energy levels and cognitive performance.
It's not about forcing ourselves to focus for hours on end. It's about working smarter, not harder. A theme that keeps coming back.
It's the underlying principle of the Pomodoro technique, and the research supports it. Studies have shown that people who use the Pomodoro technique report increased focus, productivity, and even a greater sense of satisfaction with their work.
So it's not just about getting more done. It's about feeling better, about how we're getting things done.
Absolutely, and that's a key takeaway from all this. The Pomodoro technique is more than just a productivity hack. It's a mindset shift.
A mindset shift? In what way?
It's about valuing our time, respecting our limits, and working with our brains, not against them.
It's about finding a sustainable rhythm that allows us to be both productive and energized.
Exactly, and that's a powerful combination.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired, ready to set some Pomodoros and tackle my to-do list with renewed focus.
I'm right there with you. It's amazing what we can achieve when we work with our brains, not against them.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Thought Tidbits deep dive into the Pomodoro technique. We hope you found it informative and inspiring.
And if you're ready to give it a try, remember to start small, experiment, and find what works best for you.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Thought Tidbits channel for more explorations into fascinating topics.
Until next time, stay curious and stay productive.